How we going, Nightmare Cabiners? I know it's been a while. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks since my last video. No real reason for it. I've just been busy, and what I've been meaning to do's been, being put back and put back, and what? Well, I was having all these ongoing projects, so I was doing Rushcast once a week. When I did that Judas Priest series as well, I was doing one a day. Everything just kind of snowballed, and then I kind of found myself with stuff to do, but not in a rush to do it, and I suppose I got a bit lazy. But I'm going to be doing my part 2 of my favourite films tonight, and I've got a lot more on this second one. The first one I only did 5 films, and I've got a pile, and I was like, oh yeah, let's do that as well. Yeah, let's do that as well. So I thought, why the hell not? Let's just go through them. I'm currently listening to the new album from Nocturnus AD. I'm going to be doing a review of that, hopefully tomorrow. And hopefully Scott Walters is going to be coming on next week, and we're going to be doing a retrospective of Mortification. So stuff is coming. I've not completely disappeared. So yeah, let's. I'll get back into it now, basically. So yeah, let's get into it. So, as David Kazmierczak, I hope I pronounced that right, Morefoot, requested. He said he hopes part 2 includes An American Werewolf in London. Well, I've got my little mate with me today, and of course, yes, of course, it's one of my favourites. It's what can you say about this? I mean, it's the perfect mix between horror and comedy, really. It's just like a classic British comedy in some places, and then when it wants to switch round and wants to get serious, it does get serious pretty damn quick. It's just ultimately watchable. I mean, obviously it won an Oscar for its special effects. You don't get to see the wolf really. It is blinking, you miss it, and you got to hit the pause button if you really want to get a good look at it. But I suppose that's part of the charm, and I suppose like many a monster film, the more you see it, the more fake it would have looked, I suppose. But I've seen clips now of the animatronic of the wolf, and obviously matey here gives you a good look at it as well. So yeah, American Werewolf in London, of course. And did you know Rick Mayall's in it as well? Another blinking you miss it contribution. So here's one thing as well. When I did part 1 of my favourite films, I included Evil Dead 2, and then missed out a major point I wanted to make. So here we go. Evil Dead 1. As I said in the last one, the Evil Dead franchise is probably my favourite franchise. It's the only thing I've really kept up with. The only thing I really don't like, do you know what? I've got the Ash vs Evil Dead box sets, and I only ever really got halfway through series 1, and I keep meaning to watch them all, and I just never get round to it. But I enjoyed what I watched, what I have seen, and I've not heard anyone say anything bad about it. The only one I didn't like of the Evil Dead series is the remake of the Evil Dead. And, as horrific and gory and all the rest of it the Evil Dead series is, especially the early ones, they are still fun. And I felt that that remake just took all the fun out of it. And I listened to a podcast on it recently, though, and I don't know, I kind of wanted to reassess it and warm to it slightly, but also what they didn't like about the film is still what I didn't like. So, but anyway, I wanted to tell you about the Evil Dead because obviously, I mean, I think it's obvious, but just in case you hadn't put 2 and 2 together, it's the inspiration for this channel's name. Obviously, I've got a cabin in the bottom of my garden, and all my crap that was in the loft has now been put here, and hence the channel was born. I was doing interviews and podcasting, and I was writing for metal magazines anyway. So, yeah, and I was thinking, what can I call it? Cabin, haunted cabin. I'm in a cabin anyway. Let's get like a nightmare-y cabin look. Hold on a minute. And yeah, the cabin from The Evil Dead was obviously the inspiration. So I would have thought most people put two and two together with that, but here you go. I've pointed it out. Right, now then, into the list which I've chosen. Again, these aren't in particular order, so I'll just pick them up off the pile and speak a little bit about them and move on. So, as I've mentioned previously, especially now, I like films that I can just watch over and over again. I like a film where I can just go, what was all that about then? And then I have to watch it again and have to, what's that behind me? Oh, what's that? And yeah, and something you can listen to a podcast about or watch a documentary about and then watch it again, reassess it. And yeah, this film is, again, I remember watching it for the first time and thinking, well, it wasn't exactly a horror film, but yeah, it's pretty big climax at the end. And I'm just picking it out today, and the corner's all damaged, which has annoyed me because I get weird about stuff like that. Anyway, here we go. Let's get into it. The Wicker Man. Yeah, it's a film, again, I could just watch it over and over again and it rewards repeated listens. This is a cool addition as well because you've got a couple of different cuts of the film and a cool documentary. And disc number 4 has the soundtrack. And I don't know, I'm not into folk music as such, as in I don't really buy it. But the soundtrack was the reason I got this edition because I do quite some of the songs on it. I think folk music as well is one of those types of music. It's like, I don't like that type of music, but I do like this and I do like that. And it's like, well, so the few bits you've heard you like, you know, everyone can stand it on a certain occasion if they're at some event or if they're in a different area of the country and they're listening to some local music and stuff like that. But obviously there's a religious aspect of it as well, which I didn't really appreciate at the time, but probably have a bit more now. But yeah, Christopher Lee. I mean, what's Christopher Lee ever been bad in? You know. But I know some pagans as well probably don't appreciate this this film as well. I'm friends with Dave Martell. I probably would guess that he wouldn't like how paganism is portrayed in this film. But then again, I suppose most religious people, whatever their faith is, aren't normally happy if their faith isn't portrayed in a particular film. I mean, plenty of Satanists don't like The Exorcist, so yeah. But either way, that doesn't have a lot to do with it. It's just a cool, eerie, atmospheric, unique film that I go to time and time again. You've got sort of more modern sort of, you could say, following up in the same vein as this is Kill List with I forget the actor's name now. He's in a series called Utopia. He was in Football Factory as well. I'll have to quickly look the guy up now because I can't do that to him. It's not it's not a bad film. I've got it on DVD, but there's a lot of symbology in there as well. And Kill List. Let's look it up. The director of Kill List is the main. He's the main Paul, isn't he? Yeah, Ben Wheatley. A lot of his films, especially his early stuff. I mean, he's gone on to do quite some. You know, he's done some big hits now. But in those early indie years of his, he did a lot of stuff that was Neil Maskell is who I'm talking about. Obviously, there's Midsommar as well, which I'll get into in a bit. But yeah, so it's not really it is and it isn't really, but it's that it's coming out of society and going to an empty place where this other society is living the way they live, and the character being sucked into it. I can see there's parallels to it, but it's not quite a modern Wicker Man, as some people have said it is. But yeah, The Wicker Man, obviously one of the best Iron Maiden songs as well. which has nothing to do with the film apart from the title. But yeah, anyway. Right, now I'm going to go through a few more, like my favourite this film and my favourite that film, you know. So I'm going to go by genre a little bit. But yeah, my favourite zombie film, for my vote, is Zombie Flesh Eaters. I remember... Do you remember when you had Video Nasties and they had all these films that were banned, and then in dribs and drabs certain films got re-released on video, and the banned ones would have this like red video case, so you'd have like this black banner at the thing saying like banned films or Video Nasty collection, something like that, and then there would be like a red, the rest of the case was red, so there'd be a black banner across the top and a sort of like a diamond ruby red case, and then the poster would be like a square in the middle. And the original, let's see if I can find it in here. Is there one there? No. Oh, it's the alternative on this. So that was in the middle of the video case, and I can't remember how I got hold of it. Me and my mates, there used to be this boot sale down the road, and we all used to get up like really early on a Sunday and go to it, and just, I don't know, it was just something to do. And I think one of us might have picked it up there. I can't remember how I got hold of it, but yeah, I had Zombie Flesh Eaters. I remember just watching that around my mate's house. I remember that cool synthesizer soundtrack, and it wasn't until I got this edition that I saw it uncut for the first time. And I don't know, there's something about all of the other zombie films. I don't know, like obviously you got like the Dead trilogy, Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, which have their importance in the development of the zombie film, but I think those films have been surpassed many a time, to be fair. I find Dawn of the Dead to be actually quite overrated. My favourite of the trilogy, I think Night of the Living Dead's a classic. I just like that black and white. It's just that, you know, the way the story pans out as well. But I actually really like Day of the Dead. But yeah, Zombie Flesh Eaters is the one that wins for me every time, though. It's a bit of a slow burner, but once the zombies come into it, they just look fucking cool, and the action's really good. The effects are really good. Who's this director as well? He's done quite a few good things as well, hasn't he? Zombie Flesh Eaters 2, which has nothing to do with this whatsoever, is pretty crap. And yeah, Zombie Flesh Eaters 3 I didn't even bother with. But here we go. Yeah, Lucio Fulci, The Beyond, City of the Living Dead. I've watched a couple of his films since, but this is the top one for me. There was a death metal band actually called Fulci, Fulci, and all their album art covers and songs were based on his films. That was pretty good. I mean, where else do you get to see a zombie fighting a shark? You know what I mean? Like, you just can't beat it. So, Zombie Flesh Eaters. Next up, then, we're going to cover vampire films. Now, when it comes to vampire films, these are my two favourites, and I love my 80s horror as well. But it's pretty neck and neck between The Lost Boys and Fright Night. I think Lost Boys probably has more of the edge for me. Oh, but I do love Fright Night as well. Both of these films are just perfect. Both films I could watch time and time again. It's just an effortless watch. Both have got cracking soundtracks. The Lost Boys soundtrack is probably one of the first CDs I bought with my own money, and I still have it now. And I still love songs off it now. I love Timmy Capello's I Still Believe. Did you know, though, every song on that is an old song covered by new artists? They wanted to do a contrast between the old and the new, or the classic and the new. There's a little bit of trivia for you. I think, let's go with Lost Boys first. I mean, everyone in it is brilliant. Kiefer Sutherland is just the coolest vampire ever. I love the whole 80s aesthetic. I love the Frog Brothers, so they bring the comedy element in it. They give it all a about being these fearless vampire hunters. Then when the vampires turn up, they shit themselves and just like sit there hugging, screaming the whole time while everyone else fights them. Do you know what I saw for sale? The comic book in it, Destroy All Vampires. They actually did that comic, and I'm a bit gutted I never got it. But I probably looked at the postage and went, yeah, nothing's worth that much. But yeah, and also there's Fright Night. Again, just another perfect film. Perfect 80s aesthetic. And Chris Sarandon playing Jerry Dandridge. I mean, as a suave, sophisticated alternative to Kiefer Sutherland's sort of punk rock vampire. I love the way the story builds up, how it, you know, he spots a vampire next door. It's the ultimate, you know, kid's nightmare, and no one believes him. And as Jerry becomes more vampire-like as the film goes on, it's genuinely creepy in places as well. And again, you've got that perfect little contrast between comedy and entertainment, and then when it switches to genuine horror, it can do it. Fright Night 2's got a pretty good sequel as well. Try getting hold of it. There was a crowd-funded documentary on Fright Night, which I did have a copy of, and I did lend it to a mate, and he has no recollection of me ever giving it to him, so that's annoying. But I'm sure that's on, I think it's called You're So Cool, Brewster. I'm sure that's on YouTube by now. But that's worth watching. And that's just a perfect poster as well, isn't it? I remember seeing that in the video shop and being slightly terrified just by the poster. Like, you know, you can't go wrong with a poster like that. Lost Boys, my aunt lent me it on video, and I just never gave it back. By the time I went to give it back, she was like, yeah, just keep it. I forgot I even gave it to you. But it's a film I've watched countless times. So, yeah, 2 80s classics, which I love time and time again. And any vampire film I watch is probably measured against these. But, with that being said, for vampire films, I don't watch this one as often. But to me, this is the creme de la creme. And it is what a horror. I'd love to see vampire films, you know, take the romantic element out of it and be serious again. And that, of course, is Salem's Lot. This is terrifying, and still gives me the creeps to this day. Not even because I've watched it, just because I've had a flashback to it. You know what I'm talking about. Scratching the window, or walking through dark wooded areas, you know. But yes, it's just an eerie atmosphere on this film, and I don't actually mind this version of it as well. Check this out if you haven't seen it. This isn't a remake of Salem's Lot. It's just another adaptation of the book. So it's 2 different adaptations of the book coming from a different direction, basically. This one's obviously a bit more modern, but this is actually truer to the book. And you know, you've got Rob Lowe as the main, as the star, but you've got Donald Sutherland as Richard Straker, and you've got Rutger Hauer as Kurt Barlow. I mean, you can't go wrong. It's a really good different take on the source material, you know. And again, this is genuinely eerie in places as well. This it is really good. So I'm not looking forward to the new remake though, because all new remakes are crap. And I don't see why that one won't be. I'd like to be proved wrong, but I'm just too jaded at this point to care. Yeah, so there you go. Right. You'd think my good mate Nick, who's doing a couple of horror shows on his channel, he's put forward the case to me, and he's convinced, he's won me over. Creatively speaking, while all the rest of the film industry is succumbed to the message, and you know, people are taking over franchises and purposely sabotaging them, and just generally all around, people are just making crap films. the horror genre is actually going through another golden age right now, creatively speaking. And I think it's because The Rot has somehow managed to surpass horror, because horror, much like the music scene, has an underground. You can pretty much you can get that first film under your belt as a director or a filmmaker by doing horror. Generally speaking, horror films can be quite cheap to make, and you can be very creative with a low budget and make something pretty cool. That's never changed, and I think that is the reason horror, creatively speaking, it's going under the surface and is still pretty free to roam around and do what it wants to do. But in terms of modern horror, this is a masterpiece, and this is a new favourite of mine, and that's Hereditary. As I mentioned before, I like films that I can watch again and again, and I like films that demand a repeated viewing, and you can watch it and just go, right, what the hell was that about? And you'll have to do a bit of a case study on it, like a study guide, like you would a book. So I wouldn't watch a review of a film. I like watching analysis of films, and I watched a 4.5 hour analysis on Hereditary a few months back, and then watched Hereditary again with everything picked up. There's so much going on in this film, so much in the background, from pictures on the wall. You know how people do like these deep dives into Stanley Kubrick films and stuff like that. You could do that with this, and the end is horrific. I mean, it's just getting up in the middle of the night and getting a glass of water. I'm like that. I'm kind of nervous. I'm checking the corners now. Let's put it that way. What a film! Fantastic film. And the director, let's look him up. I forget the guy's name. Ari Aster, that's it. I think if he hasn't made classics already, but he's three main films is Hereditary, Midsummer, and what's that new one? Something to do with Bo. Hold up. It's got Joaquin Phoenix in it. Hold up. Harry. Let me look it up 1 second. Yeah, you've got Hereditary. Beau is Afraid. That's it. Midsummer. I thought Midsummer was great, and for the same reasons, really. It's all there for you, but you've got to decipher it yourself. It's not spelled out for you. I know it's a bit long, but I thought it ultimately paid out. Not really a horror film though. I'm not going to get into it on this show that I'm doing now, but I did really enjoy it. But I really liked Beau is Afraid as well. And again, I watched it and right, that was bonbons. But I know it would have been good, so I need to have a look into it. And it seems to have had a bit of a backlash. I've gone Beau is Afraid analysis and stop analysing it, and everyone was going off on one. So yeah, maybe let the heat die down on that one. But anyway, Hereditary is awesome. And if you're a fan of The Exorcist, you're a fan of Wicker Man, if you're a fan of Stanley Kubrick, you absolutely have to watch this film. It's fantastic. Right, we covered the 80s, now we're going into the 90s. This film has just had its 30th anniversary, and it's got another shit remake coming out. It's been pushed off and pushed off. I think God has intervened a couple of times saying, look, stop trying to remake this film. It's not going to work. But they finally done it, and the trailer looks horrific. It's had a number of really bad sequels as well, although I do have a soft spot for the first one, which I'll get into in a minute. Anyway, here we go. The Crow. Obviously, with the 30th anniversary, people are sort of digging it out and rewatching it again. I think it's had a cinema run as well. I think the film still stands up to this day. It's of its time, but it stands. The scenery, the whole aesthetic of it. Brandon Lee is brilliant in it. The way it's edited. Again, this was another one of the first soundtracks, one of the first CDs I ever bought with my own money, and it introduced me to bands that I love today. And I've still got it and still stick it on there and then and still enjoy it. But it's just a perfect film. It just from the opening shot all the way to the end. It just perfectly paced, great action scenes, perfect portrayal of grief with the flashback scenes, and the way the music's intertwined with it all, the way it looks. It's just a beautiful action film, and again, it still stands up today. So The Crow is something a bit different. I did like my anime. I went through a bit of a manga phase when I was at school and college. Didn't go deep into it, and people really go deep into it today. I mean, I've still got a very surface knowledge of it. They call it anime. I used to call them mangas, but yeah, this is the cream of the crop. Akira. My son showed a bit of interest in Akira. He must have seen clips on it on YouTube, so I got this. I did have it on video, but I never bought it again until getting this. And re-watching it again, it's a phenomenal film, and the animation is just... It just blows your mind, because they just never would have made that today. Today it would be CGI. When you see the city, that's all drawing. And I suppose it would have been early, maybe very early elements of special effects, I suppose. But it would have... I mean, this was still in the 80s. Like, I think it was 89 it originally came out. But they just wouldn't take the time to do that today, But yeah, a really good story. I kind of figured out what it was all about once and then forgot. But I think the big thing with this is that this is based on a graphic novel, and it's in 7 parts, and the film only actually covers the first book. The first book obviously ends on a cliffhanger, to be continued, and they do stick an ending on this, I think, just so they could finish off the film. So they kind of wrap things up quite quickly in the film, just so it did have an ending. And it's a shame that they never did a sequel, really, because there's more than enough material for it. But best they leave it as it is, the way things are. But another great soundtrack. Do you know what as well? The dub on this, the voice of Kaneda, the main character there, was the same guy that did the voice of Leonardo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoons back in the day. And I was always like, I know that voice. But watching this, it's a new dub. So the script's the same, more or less. Like, yeah, even like the odd word here and there changes, which isn't major, but it does throw you off. And all the voices are different. It's weird. It's weird. But it's a real in-depth story as well. You've got the tension really between Tetsuo and Kaneda, as they've been friends from a young age, but it feels like there's a tension and a resentment there as well that builds up, and Tetsuo gets this power that he can't control, and the people that can help him he doesn't trust, because they're the government, and what's gone on is basically their big fuck up. So why would you trust them? And then Kaneda and his gang of friends are trying to demystify the whole thing, and it's just a really good film. And yeah, it's the amount of people that won't watch it because it's animated. They're like, no, I'm not watching that. Cartoons are for kids. It's like, no, you need to unplug that idea, because there's really good stuff out there. And I liked Ghost in the Shell, Ninja Scroll, Fist of the North Star, Appleseed, Cyber City Oedo 808. That was awesome, and that had a fantastic soundtrack as well. But yeah, I mean, fucking hell, people get really deep into anime now. But like I say, all the stuff I watched on video, and I never watched anything else since, really. But with that being said, I did start reading Berserk, and I do really love that. So yeah. All right, shall we move on? Next up, another masterpiece. Do you know what, actually? Let's stick with horror for now. Yeah, I'll do the other one last. Got 2 more horror films to talk about. Right, this is a newer film. I've only watched this recently, but again, I could watch it again and again and go, what the hell was that? And I'm watching analysis videos. There's so many different details. But yeah, Mad God. check this out if you get a chance. So this is this is the brainchild, really, the main project of Phil Tippett, who did special effects on all of your favourite films in the 80s. And this is something that he started, from starting to finishing, was a 30-year process. He didn't quite work on it like continually for 30 years. He'd stop, he stopped and started, and then through modern day crowdfunding, I think it was crowdfunding. I think he crowdfunded bits of it. Yeah, he got to a point where he's like, right, I'm finishing this film, and certain bits he crowdfunded just to get it finished. I think he crowdfunded someone to edit it or something like that. I can't remember. It's all on the extras. The only thing is with this particular take, start that again, shall I? This edition comes with commentary with Phil Tippett and Guillermo del Toro. Is that his name? Yeah. And I thought, God, they're going to go right into depth. And he's going to... It was basically just like an interview. They didn't even mention the film in the commentary. I was really disappointed. But, yeah, visually, I mean... That's what I was meant to say about Crow. The Crow is an hour-and-a-half long music video. There you go. That's what I just wanted to say. That's how cool it looks. Speaking of music videos, do you remember Toll? Yeah, this whole thing looks like one of them. There was an Alice in Chains video that was all animated as well. A bit like that. It's like the whole start-stop animation thing. But visually, it's disturbing and beautiful at the same time. There is a theme in it as well. There is like a point to it. And when you get it and then rewatch it, it all makes sense. But, yeah, again, the first time you watch it, you're just like, the fuck? But the more you watch it, the better it gets. And all the little details and nuances and all the thing, it makes more sense the more you watch it. And, yeah, this is a modern favourite of mine. And I think I'm going to love this film for years to come. Next up, one of my favourites. I've got a box set here. I'm going to take I'll tell you what, right? Your whatever your favourite film is, if you live in the UK anyway, if you live in the US, you want Scream Factory. But if you live in the UK, you want Arrow Video. Whatever edition they put out, you want them to put out an edition of your favourite film. They do new artwork. And then you've got like a classic poster, and you can either flip the artwork around and that. But anyway, right, here's the box set. It's Hellraiser. And yeah, let's look at the first film in particular, Hellraiser. I've always loved this film. I love Hellraiser, Hellraiser 2, 1 and 2 are the ones you need. Let's get the classic poster of that as well. And Hellraiser 3 is where it goes slightly Hollywood. I quite like Hellraiser Bloodline for what it's worth. You kind of get the impression that there was studio intervention, and what the finished product is a bit of a hodgepodge on what could have been and what is. You can actually get the script for Bloodline on Amazon in book form, and when you... Bit like Alien 3. It's a flawed film, but you can see the great film that's in there, if you know what I mean. And you kind of overlook... If you read the script of Bloodline, and then watch Bloodline, and you can kind of see the good film in there somewhere. And then after that, it's just Law of Diminishing Returns. But I do really like the last one in the series, Hellraiser Judgment, which was directed by Gary J. Tunnicliffe, who had worked on every Hellraiser film from 3 onwards to various degrees. And he's done a fantastic... He's done a couple of... He basically just seems to appear on podcasts now, but he did a great one on Midnight's Edge. It's a YouTube channel. And also on Midnight's Edge, he does a commentary for the film. And yeah, with that being... With the budget he had and what he had in mind, yeah, that Hellraiser Judgment is worth a watch. But generally speaking... 1 and 2 is where it's at. what is it with about these films though? It's just they're visually stunning, and you know, considering the first film was just under, I think it was just like £1 million. I was going to say dollars. And what they managed to do with £1 million is just amazing. And once the Cenobites come into it, visually, it still works. You know, there's stuff about the film that doesn't quite work today, but the stuff that does is awesome. And obviously, the character of Pinhead he hasn't become that yet on the first one. On this film, he's a badass. And every line of dialogue from, he's not even called Pinhead yet. On this is just awesome. It's just the authority when he comes in. You know, he enters. You know, who are you? What was it explorers of the outer realms, something like that. Angels to some, demons to others. It's just brilliant. And he's just a character because he's not really a villain. That's the funny thing with it all. It's, you know, he's got, again, in the video shop, you look at that poster, you just know this is going to be awesome. And as a kid, it was just like, yeah, that's I'm not going to be allowed to watch that. But he's just an intriguing character, and I think that's the real pull of those first two films, is that you don't quite, the fact that it's not explained fully, at least, is what makes you revisit it. And like I say, they're unleashed. You bring them to you, and what they do is what they do. They don't sell anyone short. They're not villains as such. If anything, when these arrive at the end, they're kind of like the cavalry arriving. They're not there for your sake, but it's them that saves Kirsty from Frank. They're there for Frank, you know, and I suppose they go for Kirsty afterwards at the end. But, you know, there's that bargain there. And Gary J. Tunnicliffe came out with a really good take on this. He went, you know, the first Hellraiser film, he said, it's just a mobster film. It's a guy turns up, visits his old floozy and goes, come on, baby. You know, I'm on the run. I need to get some money together. Help me escape, and you and me will run away together. And then the mob come at the end, and that's pretty much how this plays out, you know. But I've always loved Hellraiser. I've always loved this particular film as well. Something about it, it works. It just works every single time. Right, so last but not least, this, again, a masterpiece that I watch this film every couple of years, and I get a fresh new take on it. The backstory on it is just as fascinating as the film. There's a bunch of different cuts, but to be honest with you, I prefer just the original theatrical cut. The Redux and the thingy cut, I can't remember what ones I've got. They're all on this one, but it's kind of like if you got a special edition of an album with disc number 2 with a load of B-sides and demos. It's like, yeah, it's there if you want it, but do you really need it? And that's what. Anyway, let's get into it. Apocalypse Now. Last year, I actually read Heart of Darkness, the book that it's based on, and this is better. But, a lot of literary scholars are going to be spitting down a camera now, but I know it's a classic for a reason and all that, but what Francis Ford Coppola does with that source material is much better. So yeah, I've got the original cut, the Redux. Oh, that is all I've got. Right? No, I'm sure there was a final cut in this as well. No, was there a final cut? I thought it was 3. I thought it was Apocalypse Now, Apocalypse Redux, and then Apocalypse Now final. Maybe not. I've just got the 2 on this one then, by the looks of it. So that means I haven't seen the final cut then. I'll have to try and get hold of it. But where to start? I mean, again, visually it's just stunning. It's just nightmarish and dreamlike. And then I just love how it's just Martin Sheen's journey on it. You know, his descent into madness. He's sent into the heart of darkness. You know, it's and how Colonel Kurtz is this villain, but the more he learns about him, the more he emphasizes with him and doesn't necessarily agree with what he does, but sees the logic in it. And kind of the more he learns about him, he's like, Kurtz is a monster that's been created by the very people that he's been sent to kill him. It's like, well, he was following your orders. He was doing what you want, what you designed us to do. You did. Yeah, this is a monster of your creating, and then it's down to me to clean up your mess, you know. And when he speaks to him, and it makes more sense with. He sees what drove him mad, you know, and then there's that the realization of, you know, the horror, what he sees, what the people do when they, you know, what originally starts out as just a mission to vaccinate children, and then they end up chopping the arms off the children. It's the pile of little arms, Morbid Angel song. And it drives him mad, but then he realises, no, the horror is the point, and that goes back to The Exorcist when, you know, he says to when Kerris says to the Exorcist, you know, why take a little girl? Like, why do this? And he's like, because it's to make you despair. The horror is the point, and then he realises, in order to win this war, we've got to do. You have to do what the other's willing not to do, and it's only going to get nastier and nastier and nastier from there. And think about it before you start it, basically, is the lesson there. And there's just so much going on. But and just visually, it's fucking amazing. It's Francis Ford Coppola's other masterpiece, aside from The Godfather. It is, you know, neck and neck. And he nearly destroyed himself making this film as well, which is, you know, that's another rabbit hole to go down. If you watch the Heart of Darkness documentary, the guy literally put everything into this film. It was littered with disaster as well. Loads of stuff went wrong during the production. Yeah, just that opening sequence with the end, by the doors playing, and it's just, yeah, it's a film that, again, you can watch it time and time again, years between watching, and every time you watch it, you get a fresh new take. And I certainly appreciate it more now, as I'm getting older. I remember my dad bought it on video, and the poster was kind of similar to that. I think it was a slightly zoomed in version of that poster, but I remember being a bit bored, not really appreciating it for my age. Probably too young to watch it as well. But yeah, I love it now, and yeah, much deeper appreciation of it. So that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope, yeah, that gives you stuff to chew on. I might do a part 3 at some point, but I think I've pretty much covered it all, to be honest. I did want to include, actually, There Will Be Blood, but I can't find my copy of that anywhere. And I know as soon as I order or buy a new copy, the copy I was looking for today is going to be staring at me in the face. But yeah, There Will Be Blood's another modern-ish film I really like. Daniel Day-Lewis is just the best actor ever. And, you know, that's a character study on how that guy develops. And, you know, that's another one. I've listened to 3-hour podcasts on that, just talking about the character, really. And you know, Daniel Day, his performance with that accent, and the end as well. And yeah, again, that's another film that every couple of years you just got to watch it, and watch it in full. And yeah, I would have included. Well, I can include it. I just can't show you the DVD. But yeah, There Will Be Blood is the last one as well. That I think is awesome. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, folks. Like I say, sorry it's been a bit of a gap between videos. I know you're meant to keep things pretty consistent, but hey, what can you do? But either tomorrow or the day after, I'll be doing the Nocturnus AD review. Then next week, I'm going to go see Bruce Dickinson this Friday. So me and Luke will probably do a Maiden Cast episode off the back of that. And I'm going to be doing the Mortification retrospective next week. And I'm enjoying... That's a pretty long back catalogue. So I'm enjoying it, but I'm going to be relieved when it's done, just so I can move on to other stuff. So that's what's been taking up my time. It's basically just listening to about 15 albums. And all the EPs and live albums in between it all. So that's what's been taking up most of my time. So I was even reading the book on them as well. So, like I say, I didn't completely abandon you. I've just been working on stuff in the background. But anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Leave us a comment on what you think of certain films. And yeah, I'll see you all soon. Thanks for watching. Take care, guys. Bye.